what's the key to starting off a relationship well?
What's the key to starting
it off well? So one thing for me was this, that because we didn't see each other in dating environments a lot, I feel like dating environments put this pressure of being in an interview. So I compare dates to interviews. It's almost like you have to put your best foot forward. You wear your best clothes. You try and say all the best things. And even if it's not the best, actually, it's us trying to be right. And that's what we do in interviews. When you go and interview for a job, it's like you want to be the right fit
for that person.
Yeah, and that's what happens in a dating scenario. Like you're sitting opposite a desk, just like you do in an interview, and then someone's asking you a question and you're like, okay, well, what do I have to say to make them like me or to say the right thing? Whereas we didn't really get to do that.
No.
And I'm not saying that was a conscious choice, but now when I look back at it and I reflect on it and introspect on it, I'm like, we didn't really get an opportunity to date in that sense. And that means that I got exposed to the real her, either by seeing her in a charity organization, seeing her in a real life scenario, how does she treat normal people, and then how she is with her family. And I'm like, that's the best view you can get of someone. And so when I look at that in terms of giving advice or tips or whatever, my recommendation is be around people that you're thinking about being with in an environment where they're just being themselves.
Yeah.
Because chances are, if you like them the way they are when they are with other people, then you're likely to love them when they're with you too. And so often we only see people that we are considering being romantic with or dating with, etc. We only see them in dates and dinners and movie nights and whatever it is, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I feel like you seeing, and also seeing people with the people that they're closest to, because you can't really fake it with the people that you're closest to. I mean, and if you can, you could do it for a really short period of time. And you also end up seeing them being probably at their worst and at their best, because you can be the most loving to your family, but you can also be the worst person towards your family because they're the ones that accept it. And so, yeah, I feel like you get a good image of who the person is through interacting with them that way.
Absolutely, yeah.
Good point.
Thanks.
Nicely said.
It's true, yeah. And the other thing is, so when we first got together, I'd left being a monk probably like 7 months before. So it'd been like a 7-month gap. And I didn't have a job. I had no job. I had no money.
No.
I was getting rejected left, right, and center from every single place that I was applying to, because I'd been a monk for 3 years and no one wanted to hire someone who had monk written on their resume. Like no one's like, oh yeah, I would love your transferable skills. Like, you know, like, what do you know? And so, oh, you can meditate for 4 hours. Great. We need that in our organization. So it was just, I had nothing really.
Yeah.
And that's a great way to start dating someone, because I remember I used to save up. So I used to like try and work part-time and I was doing everything I could.
You were tutoring.
I was tutoring. So I would be tutoring young people for their exams or university exams, etc. And I'd be making like, you know, £15 an hour or whatever it was. And I remember I'd save up so I could take her out on a date at the end of the month, and so that we could do something fun. And I loved that, because I met her at a time when I had nothing, and she accepted me for it.
Yeah.
And I love her for that. And also her parents were always really cool about it. So sometimes that can be a big pressure from parents and expectations, but her parents were really cool about it. They never made me feel uncomfortable about it or anything. And my parents obviously were very comfortable with me. They were just like, follow your heart, do what's right for you. Very, very encouraging. And I don't come from a well-off background at all or anything. So it's not that I had a backup plan, but my parents were still very, very encouraging and supportive.
Yeah, I that was never in my mind, to be honest. I knew I wanted to be with you, and so I was like to my mum, even if we end up living in a really tiny house, just by like near the temple that I used to go to, and just I know that I want to spend my life with him. So whatever it ends up being, and you were really, really enthusiastic, and you had so much purpose, and even from the beginning, like you were so driven to do whatever you wanted to do. I didn't know what that was at the time, but you were so driven that I just knew whatever it was, whatever we were meant to be was what was going to happen. And I knew you were always like going to be there to take care of me, and I felt that from the beginning. Like I always felt supported. You want to hold hands? Yeah, I'm not good at PDA, so I'm going to not do that.
Oh my God, just been rejected on camera.
There you go. So that was it was really nice, and I feel like he had a lot of the qualities that I always felt I would always grow up saying, oh, I really want a husband that was like my dad. Like, I love my dad, and he was always someone that I felt very protected and supported by. And so I definitely, now looking back at it, I felt those qualities in him as I got to know him. And so I thought, yeah, that was nice. And my parents didn't carry that. I always thought it would be, you know, you always think in Indian families that's going to be an issue. But they loved him from the start. He's got really good, I don't know whether you guys have noticed, but he's got a really good way of saying things and winning people over by his words. So
it's real though.
I know, that's why it's genuine and it's sweet. So from those interactions, I think my parents trusted him very easily as well.
Yeah, I really get along with your parents.
I know. Yeah, and it was so great for me because Amy was already like my sister, and me and your mum got along straight away because we bonded over food. And so, yeah, it was really easy for us both to join into each family.
But yeah, another thing I think that's really important at the start of a relationship is self-awareness and setting expectations. So I feel that having done the work as a monk and having been through that experience myself, I'd gained so much self-awareness. So I was really aware of what type of partner I needed in my life. I was really aware of what I needed in my life to flourish, to thrive. And so when I met someone, it was very easy for me. It was very easy and simple for me to communicate my expectations to her and be like, I remember one of the things I said, and this is not offensive at all. It's genuinely how I felt at the time. And I said that if you want a husband who goes to IKEA on the weekends and to the cinema, like, I'm not that guy. And I didn't mean that as a bad thing if anyone is that. What I meant that as is I want to be someone who lives their lives of purpose, and I want my life to be about service, and I want my life to have an impact on people's lives. And I need a partner that's going to understand that, embrace that, and roll with that as well, and wants to live not a normal life, because that wasn't going to work for me if I really wanted to have an impact, if I really wanted to make a difference, if I really wanted to serve. And so that wasn't an ego thing. It wasn't me thinking I'm better or above or special. It was me saying, this is a priority for me. Mm-hmm. And I don't need it to be your priority, but I need you to understand it to be mine. And I think this is really important, that we should feel that if we're genuinely committed to something, when you make someone aware, and same back from her side too, like when she'll share hers, but when she's made me aware of what her priorities are and what's important to her, you start respecting what's important to the other person rather than expecting them to trade theirs, right? And that's usually what happens in relationships in the beginning is, instead of showing respect for the other people's passion, you expect them to change their passion for yours or compromise and be excited about your stuff. And I don't think that that's the right way. I think it's us being clear about ourselves, communicating that, and then respecting what the other person communicates.
And I think we discussed that really early on, actually.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
just to be clear, he has come to IKEA with me on the weekends.
And movies too.
Yeah, movies too. But yeah, no, I understood the point of it. And I remember at that time when he was really pushing for what he wanted to do, he was very, very busy. And so there were certain things, I mean, he spent a lot of time with me and my family, but we had just agreed that, look, if there was extended things that I had to go to, because with families, there's always other things that you have to go to, like family, friends, or relatives' houses for every event possible. And if that happened, then I knew that I was okay with him not coming to them. And I said that to him from the beginning.
You're
that
amazing as well for doing.
If you need to go and do something which is, I know for you, more important, not because for the purpose that you want to live, then I totally understand that comes above you just coming to another party, which people are not probably going to remember. Like, it's okay. And I think that was actually really important for us, because you can always hear what other people say, like family members or friends or whatever will always have a different opinion. And so as long as you feel like you have discussed it and you really understand that person's point of view, then you don't feel it doesn't rub off on you when people say things, because you understand it deeply. Whereas if you don't, then I think it's really easy to get swayed by other people's view of life or other people's way of relationships or whatever it is. Like, that can rub off on you very easily. But if you really understand that person and why they're doing it, I think that can make a big difference to you supporting them in why they're doing it.
Thank you.
Oh my God, this holding hands thing.
And we had to, realize, and I really appreciated that from her. Like, I really valued that, because it wasn't about seeing something as less. It was about seeing something as a priority for me.
Yeah.
And having someone who understood that and trusted me and allowed me to have that space strengthened us. And we also very quickly became our we became a team.
Yeah.
So when it came to our families or like demands, and for anyone who's from an Asian family or an Indian family knows that
it's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
Like family is a big deal, and
Yeah.
it gets very involved in a relationship. And I remember saying to her really early on, I was like, it's me and you, like we're a team,
Yeah.
like it's us. And we have to think like that, because we've got to wake up next to each other every single day of our lives. We've got to go to sleep together with each other every day of our lives. We've got to be in each other's face and space every single day, each other of our lives. So it's us. We have to be a team. And then very quickly, like I found that when it was anything to do with my family or my commitments, etc., then I would have her back. And then whenever she was anywhere and it was about me, she would have my back. And that built like a really strong bond early on.
Yeah,
for us.
I agree. I completely agree. And even if we wanted to discuss it between us and we had a different opinion to the other person, at least to the like people that we were speaking to, if we had each other's back, the other person felt supported and comforted by that. Whereas I feel if you're it's just so hard to fight that battle between the person that you love and like the people that you've spent your whole life with. But I think when you know when you understand the reason behind it, I keep coming back to that, but I really think it makes such a difference.
Yeah.
I remember earlier on in our relationship when we were talking about spending time with each other's family or even each other, you said something to me which has stuck with me for a really long time,
I'm scared
till
now.
now. No, it was really good. He was saying how, you know, we can spend so much quantity of time with people and it can be spent doing so many different things. You're with each other, but you're actually doing like, okay, you're watching a film or you're on your phones or you're spending the whole day together, but how much are you actually interacting with each other? And so I really loved that he would always choose quality time over necessarily, over like quantity. So even if he's spending a short amount of time with me or my family or my friends, he would always make sure they've got his full attention. Like he would really make them feel, and he genuinely felt that way, that he was investing his full self into that moment. And I think that makes such a difference. And I never understood that at the time, because it was always like, you know, when you're spending time with family, it's just family time. But it really made me think about how I spend time with people rather than the amount of time I spend time with people. And as I've seen you do that while we've been together, I just think I've noticed how much people appreciate your full attention and how deeply you connect to them, even in such a short space of time. Whereas I've been like the type of person who can spend an hour with someone and my mind can be somewhere else. And it's a training, it's a training thing, definitely. And I've learned that from you. But it's an incredible quality to have, to be able to invest your full self into a conversation or a person. And that's why like it's actually really annoying, but he remembers everything. Like he remembers everybody's name, everything I said like 5 weeks ago, everything I was wearing. Like it's an amazing quality, but it can also be very annoying because I don't have that memory. So he's like, no, you said this like 3 weeks ago. It's like, no, I didn't. But I don't have like a book that I write things down in, so I have to take his word for it. But
five almonds a day, guys. Five
almonds, yes.
As my mom would tell me. But no, thank you. I really appreciate
that.
Yeah,
I remember
really
that
kind,
from quality time.
And you know, she'd always make an effort to, and this is where it comes to using your skills and talents. Like she'd always make an effort to like cook amazing stuff for my family. I remember when you made my sister a minion cake for her birthday.
That took me a day and a half.
And it was so worth it. Like it looked so good. Like and I love minions too. So it was so cute. And my mum still remembers the first tort you ever made.
When I first came over.
Brought it over when you first came over. And it's those things. So, you know, using your talents, using your skills, and people appreciate that even more than like taking a week or taking time, like she's saying, like quantity, but the quality of a thought.
Yeah.
Right. Even when people say like it's the thought that counts, it's not. It's the quality of the thought that counts. Like that's where we make an impact in people's lives.